All right, bowl season is here. Moving on to New Year's Eve, kicking us off in the Sugar Bowl. Weird. Sugar Bowl's usually at night. We got Bama taking on Kansas State, the Big 12 champs. This line opened up around Bama -4 when Bryce Young and Will Anderson and really all their key guys who might have opted out said they were going to play this game. As you might expect, this line has shot up. Saw 6.5s for a while, but this line has officially hit Alabama -7. Total has stayed pretty steady. Very standard total at 56.5. Yeah, I mean, in theory, with Young and Anderson and all these, future first round, top 10 level picks coming back to play this game, of course the money's going to come in on Bama. The issue is if you've used this logic all year, you've gotten torched. I mean, really starting back in week 2, Bama traveled to Texas. They were like 21-point favorites. Should have lost the game outright. Should have lost to Texas A&M outright. They lost as double-digit favorites to LSU. I think they were 9-point favorite against Tennessee. Didn't cover at Ole Miss either. So all season, people have thought Bama as they've thought of them the last 10 years, and that's great. Alabama's been an overvalued football team, an overrated team by the betting markets all season. My main issue with Bama is they're not very well coached, especially offensively. I'm not a Bill O'Brien guy. I know his name's being floated around for some NFL jobs right now. I don't get it. I'll never get it. I know Bryce Young won the Heisman last year, but if you look at his numbers this year, I mean, 8.4 yards per attempt for a guy with that much talent is despicable, quite frankly. I do think a lot of that has to do with some of those younger receivers. I mean, they don't have a Jamison Williams, a Devontae Smith clearly on this team, and I definitely think that's hurt their passing game overall, but just some of Bill O'Brien's play calling decisions, it just clearly hasn't clicked for this Bama offense this year. I don't have as much concern about their defense. They're still pretty dominant up front and do like that secondary, but I mean, I wouldn't say that you can't run on Bama. I mean, the last time we saw Bama, they gave up over 300 yards on the ground to Auburn, so it's not exactly a dominant run defense. I mean, I would imagine Kansas State and Chris Kleiman are going to give Deuce Vaughn a pretty heavy usage in this game. I mean, he's not a prototypical SEC back. He's smaller, but he's also a little bit more explosive than I think Alabama's used to facing at that position. He's slippery. He's a big play waiting to happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if Deuce Vaughn for K-State has a pretty good game. My issue is, Will Howard for Kansas State. He came on when Adrian Martinez got hurt, and he played great. I mean, he has the better numbers over really any sample size you want to look at throughout the season. In relation to Bryce Young, the issue is how sustainable is that? I could definitely see a world where he does come back down to earth a little bit. I think Kansas State is good along their offensive line, but this is a test that they haven't seen all season. And while I have trusted him in some of his spots this year, I was on Kansas State when they played TCU in the Big 12 title. I'm not exactly willing to back the Wildcats in this matchup. Going back to what I said at the beginning, go for it if you think Bama -7 is the easiest bet of all time. But I'll just say, week after week, all season long, I heard the same things, and they continually didn't cover. This team clearly is not what they were made out to be preseason. They're not very well coached offensively. With that said, I'm not exactly willing to back Kansas State on the other side. I don't really trust Will Howard in this spot, and I don't think there's one aspect of Kansas State's defense that's really good or in that elite status. I really don't have much from a betting perspective on this game. Both these teams are at an average pace. This is an average total. I think there's better opportunities on the board.